President at bottom of the 420th inning. So there's a crack in the bat. It's hit. He's running. He's rounding first. He's rounding second, completely ignoring third base. Oh, he's sliding head first into 69th base with Doug Mellard.
Yo, what it is? Welcome to 69th Base, the podcast where I hold idiotic sports analysts accountable for their stupid takes. I'm your host, Doug Mellard. Got a good one for you. Welcome to the party. We're, of course, going to talk about Kobe Bryant's passing and that horrible tragedy, but we're also going to talk about the NFL, of course, the Super Bowl preview and Skip Bayless's absurd thoughts on that, Eli Manning and his Hall of Fame case, Zion, some embarrassing Skip Bayless moments. Plus, I'll start a new rumor. Got a story for you, as always, and much, much more. First of all, thanks to everybody that came out to see Dan Cummins and I in Sacramento. Welcome to any of you that have latched onto the podcast since those shows. There were some of you that were very excited about it. Thanks for tuning in. I had so much fun with Dan up in Sacramento. Good Lord. Those shows were out of control. The Drildo story that was born on this podcast, I've been adding to that. It's been going really well. People seem to enjoy that. Did like a good 15, 20 minutes of new material that people seem to enjoy. And I got to say, I really think the podcast is helping with that because I get to hammer out some of these stories with you guys and you guys react, and then I'll take it to the stage and share it with you guys that way. So that's been fun. I always have so much fun with that guy. We fuck with each other nonstop. It's almost impossible for us to be serious together. If anybody saw it on my social, I did post, we did I think it was like Friday morning television, Fox 40 Sacramento. And I went along with Dan has a running joke about being a really cool guy with his alpha sunglasses. These ridiculous sunglasses that he wears that give him these like alpha male powers. And so we went, he wore this like $20 tracksuit he got online, and two pairs of sunglasses, one underneath another pair that he tore off mid-interview. And we both had berets, as if berets were cool, like alpha males would wear those. I just ripped the sleeves off of one of my Burrito for President 2020 shirts, and it was ridiculous. They went along with it. We honestly didn't know if we would be rejected when we get there, because there was like a dress code mention in the email. So we thought there was a chance we'd just be turned down or get yelled at, or the anchors or whatever, the hosts would not like us and not understand what was going on. I kind of welcomed that. I think Dan did too, but they rolled with it. It was really fun. We just I'm gonna try to find the link to pass it around. I don't think they've put it up yet, which is unfortunate. I hope that they do. Dan did get it all on video. Maybe we'll be able to post it ourselves if nothing else. But it was really fun. We just talked about like how alpha we were, and that we just started a chain of restaurants with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and it only served alpha, predator animals. So sharks, tigers, lions, that kind of thing. Real fun. I stopped and did push-ups because we said if I didn't do push-ups every 20 minutes, my heart would fail. And then Dan crossed over on top of me and did push-ups over me. It's silly. Go check it out. There's a clip on my Instagram right now, and hopefully I'll post more soon when I can find it. Anyway, so fun. Had such a good weekend. And thanks again to the new people joining me from Sacramento. All right. Before we get on the sports talk, I got to talk about this for just a moment. I worked at Walmart a while back for a very short time. I will go into more detail about this on another episode down the line, because a lot of things happened on that job that were hilarious. I kept a journal and welcomed all the ridiculousness that came my way. But one such tiny thing, this is the tiniest of tiny things, but one day, it was not fun working there. On some levels, it was because I just kind of welcomed how crazy it was and weird and whatnot, and the people watching. Good God. I saw many a redneck with their heads that had recently been on fire, covered in gauze, visiting the pharmacy. I'm not even making that up. But one day, not having a good day, I go to use the restroom. And when I go to use the restroom, I find a chunk of shit in the trash can. Like I'd washed my hands, I was drying my hands, and I'm going to throw the paper towels away, and it's already kind of overflowing, and there's just like half a turd on top. Like what happened there? What happened? It was so disgusting, so disturbing. But I will say that I would rather work at Walmart for the rest of time and start my day, my awful shift, by finding a chunk of shit like that, just to kick it off every day. I'd rather do all that than to share a breakfast with Skip Bayless. Right? I mean, seems pretty obvious. All right, let's move it along. Well, see, here's the thing. Normally, I welcome the guest here, but I have no guest this week. I'm going solo. I did have a guest. They dropped out last second, so I'm trying to stay somewhat on track with releasing this. So I'm just gonna throw a story out there by myself, and here we go. This is really embarrassing because it's so crazy, and don't do this. But I went through a period of time where in college I was very influenced by the movie Fight Club, as were a lot of males at that age. Speaking of alpha bros, and we, I basically had my own fight club with a buddy of mine whose name will remain nameless. He would not want me to drag him into this publicly, but we would fight a lot, and we were buddies. It was just a weird. After seeing Fight Club for the 80th time in theaters, this is also embarrassing. We would beat up on each other one day, just like all jacked up from adrenaline of being alpha bros, and we punch on each other and realized it was quite a release. And so we would do that here and there. I would never do that now. I would just my body would break down. But it would happen quite a bit. So much so that as a joke, I started carrying a mouthpiece with me, so that if we started fighting, I'd throw it in and, stay somewhat protected. And it was funny. But there also were a few escalated incidents where stuff got heated at a party or whatever, some idiot, or I was being the idiot. And I used to be so hot-headed, it was stupid. And I would throw that mouthpiece in, and guys would back away because you look like a maniac if you pop in a mouthpiece before a fist fight. So that all happened. And on top of that, one time, my buddy and I were downtown. Should have called him before I delivered this story because we always half remember stories from this era because there's generally a lot of booze involved. So we have to piece these puzzle pieces together. But we were at this real douchey bar. I don't know why we were there, but it was like 2-storied. And this was during the Fight Club era. And I was such a dorky fan of the movie. I was wearing a shirt from the movie that was like worn in the movie. And Ed Norton walked in and he had a party with him, like a group of people. They were celebrating somebody's birthday. And we were going to go sit at this one area we would always sit at there. And my friend went to, I think I went to go get drinks, and he went to go get us, a place to sit. And when he went to do that, he was shot down by a bouncer who was very rude to him. I have a friend run down and tell me my buddy is about to get in a fight with Ed Norton, and I better hurry up and run up there. So I'm bringing my drinks up there, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? He's like, oh, Ed Norton's over there, and we can't go sit over there uh, because it's Ed Norton and his party. And I was like, okay, well, why are we angry? And he was like, well, this security guard was all high and mighty about it. He was so mad at the way the news was delivered. So I have to like talk him down from this because to me it's real silly. Um, I cannot talk him down from this. I asked, I was like, look, man, let's say we do fight this security guard. We're then going to have to fight other security guards, like bouncers and stuff, and the door guy on the way out. And plus, we're on the second story. How would we even get out of here? This bar is packed. We're upstairs. Without hesitation, he looks downstairs over the railing. Is like, we can make the jump. He was gonna like fight the security guard, take out other couple other guys, and Ed Norton if need be, and then we were gonna jump over the railing, run the 10 feet to get past everybody else, and then take out the last bouncer, and then we'll be scot free. You know. Piece of cake, easy, good, great planning. My friend was in a very, calmly state, and I can't talk him out of it. So finally, he's just like, "No, we're doing this," and he starts to turn around to go fight this guy, presumably, and I grab him and I was like, "Wait, if we're gonna do this, can we at least down these drinks I got?" And so we both slammed drinks. And then I was like, all right, let's go. I'm going to follow my friend into battle here. A very stupid idea. And it's all just because it was this weird, like, band of brothers thing, which I guess is a good thing to have, but very dumb, very dumb. Luckily, I talked to the bouncer one more time, I believe. And then I talked our way out of it, calmed everybody down. We were all fine. We weren't friends after that, but we did not get in a fight with Ed Norton. But how cool would it have been if I did get in a fight with Ed Norton, standing over him in a Fight Club t-shirt that was worn in the movie by Brad Pitt. I mean, would it have been worth it, Doug? Come on, man. Sometimes you just got to go through with it. Oh, man, I'm so glad we're not still in prison for that. You know, that was not the smartest era for me. A lot of stories like that. And so much of it linked to booze and almost fighting. There's a lot of almost fighting, a lot of escalations that didn't turn an actual fisticuffs. But here we go. Let's get into the sports world, you guys. Let's just dive in. Of course, have to address the Kobe Bryant thing. Awful, awful, awful news. Oh my God. This is definitely one of those moments in life where I feel like we'll all remember where we were when we got the news. I just gotten, I was leaving LAX. I was about to get in my lift and my phone started blowing up. My buddy, Jason Knuckles, texted. He's been on the show before. And he and a buddy, Ian, were both messaging me about it. And it really just seemed too crazy to be true. I read it. I don't believe it almost. And it wasn't because I thought they were bullshitting. It was seriously like, this has to be wrong. That's too strange. I Google it. I'm sure a lot of you did the same thing. I Google it. It's real. It's been confirmed. It was crazy how many times the story changed. That was so fucked up. Couldn't believe that. I felt even worse for people around them when, I mean, it was all awful, but the news changing like that all the time man, just horrible. But, and it was even eerier. It was the day after LeBron passed him and scoring, just so crazy. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really a Kobe fan. I respected his career and all that stuff. But I hated the Lakers for so many years that like he represented something that I was against. So and I couldn't ever root for him and all that kind of thing. But obviously like had respect for his playing career and stuff. Um, but the way but I obviously still I'm not taking anything away from how horrible it was. It was such a tragic event, but seeing how it truly affected so many people made me realize just how tragic it was. Like it was already awful, but he represented a lot of things to a lot of people. And I mean, his daughter passing. I mean, good lord, it's just awful, just awful. So, like what was it? 9 people. Terrible, terrible thing. Thoughts with all those people around that event. I'm not going to say anything that's going to, that hasn't been said. I did as soon as I got in my lift. My lift appeared like a minute later after I get the news, and it was just this weird jarring. Like, what just happened? I get in the lift. I shut the door. I put my stuff up, and the woman. It's a young woman driving, and I mean, she cried at points during the drive, and there would be points where she was talking a lot, clearly affected her, and then points of silence throughout the ride. It was crazy, and it's I think one other thing that it really did was you think of these guys that are like you think of these guys as like superheroes or immortals, and this is a moment where it just kind of I think shakes everyone and they're like, hey man, our time is not infinite. Seize the day. Hold on to your loved ones, that kind of thing. Um, that's the only positive, I guess, from this situation is for people to wake up and feel that before we get sucked back into our routines or whatever. But that is a real thing, man. Not every day's promise. So get out there and hug people and be nice to each other and, don't fight people with mouthpieces. Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Be good to each other, everybody. All right. Let's move on now into some football news because, of course, Skip Bayless once again has said some dumb things. As always. The Super Bowl is almost upon us. This will be the last podcast before the Super Bowl. How crazy is that? It's scary because that means there's no football for a long time. Even though the NFL season is now year-round with how they market everything with the day after the Super Bowl. Who's going to be drafted number 1 through 10 and all that kind of shit. Where's Tom Brady going? We got an interesting offseason ahead, but let's cherish these last few days. About that Chiefs team facing that 49ers team. Skip Bayless thinks that they're too brash. Apparently, Eric Bieniemy, the OC for the Kansas City Chiefs, said that every play that he has designed is designed to score a touchdown. And Skip Bayless has a problem with that. I don't understand why. That is what you're supposed to do with the ball and stuff. You're supposed to score. You're supposed to put points on the board. I don't understand why that was taken as a braggadocious statement. That's ridiculous. He just really hates Patrick Mahomes because he's too fancy. He makes jokes about how he's going to throw some behind the back passes or between the leg passes in the Super Bowl. And I hope he does, and I wouldn't be shocked. Why is that a bad thing? Why is him being innovative and magical a bad thing? Just get over it, old man. He's coming. He can't give it. Like, what's weird is he's in a shitty situation because if Mahomes wins, he hates him. I think it's because he's being pumped up as like the best quarterback now kind of alongside Lamar Jackson, but anybody that's being pumped up like that takes away from Tom Brady's shine. So he hates it. Everything it represents. It's bad. So if Mahomes wins, it's bad for Skip Bayless. He's rooting for the Niners like crazy, but the Niners have Richard Sherman, who, if you haven't seen that YouTube clip of Richard Sherman arguing with Skip Bayless, check it out. It's the best. I'm sure I've talked about it on the show, but he just talks about how he's so much better at life than Skip Bayless and how he's garbage. It's great. So he's got himself in a corner where he's rooting for Richard Sherman, who just made him look so small. Oh, so great. And then on top of that, he's got to root for Jimmy G, who he also kind of hates. And if he wins, it kind of proves Belichick right in that whole thing where he was going to get rid of Brady to groom Jimmy G. And so, I think he's kind of in a lose-lose situation there. But he's, regardless, going for the Niners and acting like that doesn't matter. God, how great would it be if the Niners... I'm actually myself pulling for the Chiefs, but how great would it be if the Niners win the game and Richard Sherman, for no reason, just he's holding the Super Bowl trophy and calls Skip Bayless a piece of trash. That'd be fantastic. But he went so far as to say, well, first of all, he said the Chiefs were lucky to be there. They had a number of lucky breaks. It's not Patrick Mahomes and the offense is great. It's that they're lucky. He said the Pats getting beat by Miami was a lucky break for them because the Pats had lost the seeding to them. And then the Titans beating the Ravens and the Pats also helped them. And, I mean, probably, yeah, a little bit it did, but they can only do what's in front of them, so fuck off. He also is saying that Mahomes is overhyped, which there's a big question mark after that, right? Like, what are you talking about? He even went so far as to say that he feels sorry for Patrick Mahomes because of all the hype, because there's no way he can back it up. I feel like he's already kind of backed it up. He's so fun to watch. He's just one of those players where it doesn't matter who you root for. You can't hate this guy. Like if he was, in the Cowboys division, I would like to think I would still. I hate the Ravens. I hate the Ravens so much. I have impartial feelings towards the Chiefs, but I hate the Ravens. I love watching Lamar Jackson play. Love it. It's absolutely great. Why can't he feel the same way? He also said he thinks Dak could be better long term than Patrick Mahomes, which is maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard by a, in quotes, sports analyst. He also said that Dak had a better season than Patrick Mahomes, which if you look at the numbers, they're very similar, but Mahomes played 2 less games. So what would have happened there? He also had way less interceptions. And do you remember at the beginning of the season when he was like on pace to break every record ever? And then he got injured. I think he kind of screwed that up a little bit. Anyway, wow. So, you just think he can't get any sillier. And then he says things like that. Who do you guys got? I'm taking, oh man. I was about to just easily commit to the Chiefs, but it's a hard one. I think the Niners definitely have the better team. I think Mahomes is the best player on the field. But that Niners defense, man, it's so good. This matchup on paper is one of the funnest Super Bowls I think we've seen. Hopefully, please don't be like last year. Last year was so boring. Just let it be a good game. Just let it be as good as the matchup could be. And I hope that there's decent amounts of scoring. I just want to see a good game. I want to see a good game, and I want Patrick Mahomes to win it. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. I think. Although, God, I was just gonna say such a skip thing. Although I won't be surprised if the Niners win. But I really feel like this is a coin toss. Flip of a game, It's real hard. picking the Chiefs is harder, I think, than picking the Niners. The Niners, I think another thing going for them, Kyle Shanahan, after that 28-3 debacle in Atlanta, I think he learned a lot that game, as in what not to do, as we saw with them only letting Jimmy G pass 8 times and run for 8,000 yards in that one game in the playoffs. Like, he's just going to do whatever it takes to win. But hey, it's going to be a hell of a game. Looking forward to it. Let's fucking do this. The Super Bowl, though, it's so bittersweet because once it's over, then it's just the off season, the dreaded off season. But there's so many juicy storylines, as I've talked about on here, that it is going to be a pretty fun one. By the way, I've talked about how many quarterbacks are going to be available in the offseason. One that I forgot to mention is Alex Smith. When is he back? When is is he coming back? He might not. I could see him calling it a career after how gruesome that was. And, is it worth it to put his body through more and all that stuff? But that's another name to have out there. That's so crazy. Like, how many quarterbacks are going to be out there to switch teams? And now we can take at least one of those names off the board, though. Eli Manning. He retired. That's the end of his career. That's crazy. I think we all kind of saw that coming. It's probably a smart move. He maybe could have done some damage on a better team, but I think he probably saw that he wasn't going to get his pick of the litter. They're like, Rivers and Brady's and even Dalton's, I think, would be ahead of him. So he called it. And what do you guys think about his Hall of Fame career? I'm thinking he's getting in. I'm thinking he shouldn't, though. It's a rare instance I actually agree with Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless does not want him in the Hall of Fame. Neither did Shannon Sharp. I think a lot of people are arguing against it. But it just feels like you hear people like his brother, of course, arguing for him. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings, which you can't sneeze at. But Trent Dilfer has 1. He's definitely not a Hall of Famer. He's definitely better at football than I will ever be, for sure. But I just think it's weird that now, like, what's being tossed around by a lot of people is what a good guy he is. Go fuck yourself. Are you serious? You're going to get in the Hall of Fame because you're a good dude? Awesome. Yeah, that's what it should be for sure. The Hall of Fame for good people. Well, all the nice guys in. And, like T.O. not being allowed first ballot when he was like second in almost every category because he was fucking weird. Come on. It's not what it's about. It's how fucking great they were. Could they alter a game or a season? And he did, throwing that pass up to Tyree that stuck to his helmet. And hey, he made me laugh a lot on that SNL episode. There's some funny shit in there, Eli. But I don't think he should get in. But he will because he's a Manning. That's the other thing people argue, like he's a Manning. Okay. Just if you're lucky enough to just fucking luck into that situation, you should get in. Fuck off. That would have to make so many players on the bubble so angry. We all saw how upset Drew Pearson was when he didn't get in. Can you imagine him when Eli Manning gets in privately? Oh, he's going to be screaming. Let's film that and release it. So he's off the board. Meanwhile, Drew Brees is talking about retirement. What the hell is he going to do? I'm willing to bet he comes back. I'm guessing these teams are going to want to know things pretty quickly. Although New Orleans, I would bet, would want to draft a quarterback either way. Although they could just keep sign Teddy for a year, draft next year. But that's an interesting little shakeup also. Phillip Rivers, I saw on Twitter it was trending that he has been released or will not sign back with the team. But at the same time, I haven't seen it confirmed in many places. Like I've seen articles about it, but like the normal websites that I go through to get all my NFL news and stuff hasn't appeared yet. So I think that's kind of odd. I'm pretty sure it's legit. He did just move to Florida, but that was kind of surprising for me. I really thought the idea of Phillip Rivers. I thought it was going to be like an Eli situation where they kind of hung on to him a little too long because he's done so much for them. But at the same time, he hasn't won any fucking rings. I don't know why I talked like that at that moment, but yeah, that was really weird. But if he is going, that just adds to the whole speculation of Tom Brady to LA. Man, and that's what Skip wants. And honestly, I kind of want it just because I don't think it would work, and I want to see Tom Brady fail miserably. I hope it happens. The Chargers is such a snake-bitten team; it's ridiculous. Everybody always gets injured every year. But hey, looking as much as I'm not looking forward to the offseason, I'm kind of a little bit looking forward to it, just for all this juicy little tidbits out there. Moving on, a little bit of basketball real quick. Zion. Oh, man. So he's finally made it. He's here. And Skip Bayless talking about Zion. I made fun of this last week, and it's such great timing that this has happened again. He was talking about, I think it was his first game, and once he turned it on and just went nuts, Skip Bayless said he's never seen anything like it. Last week, I mentioned that Skip Bayless too often says he's never seen anything like a certain guy, and yet he's been in the sports world for like 1,000 years. You're not very good at your job if you're surprised every 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, there's no comparison to him. You've never, your whole career, you haven't seen anything like that performance, and you've never seen anything like Derrick Henry, and also earlier in the season, you've never seen anything like Lamar Jackson, and you've never seen anything like it. Just the list goes on and on. That should be like a new segment where I should really just like, I'm gonna try to listen into that to see if he just says that once a week. So silly to me. God, he's really bad at this. So just a random tidbit of info. Doug Benson had posted something that Big Ben blocked him. I think it was on Twitter. And so I texted Doug. I was like, hey, why'd you get blocked by Big Ben? And he was like, I don't know. Apparently he just blocks a lot of people. I just thought that was really funny. What is Big Ben? And that kind of shows so much about him as a whole, because all these things are out there floating about him being such a baby and a whiner, and everything has to be perfect in his way, and apparently he just blocks everybody on social media. So I was glad Dougie put that out there to the world to it further validates all the speculation that Big Ben is the worst. Sorry, Steelers fans listening, but seriously, your quarterback sucks. He's such a brat. I mean, is he good? Yeah. Such a not fun person. Where did Skip really embarrass himself this week, other than all the things that I've already said? Well, there was a moment. Oh, God, I'm reading this. I forgot about it. But there was a moment on a show after the Conor McGregor fight where Skip said, did you see Tom Brady at the Conor fight? Did he not look like a stud? Whoa, what? It's just a weird thing to say. Like a guy that's that obsessed. It just sounded so funny coming out of his mouth. What is he? Did he not look like a stud? He was, oh man, he has to have posters of him up on his wall. I bet he fucking does. I wish we could have a tour of his home. If you guys stumble across any interviews of a Skip Bayless home tour, please pass that along, because it's probably just like a 10-year-old boy's like dream house, but all Tom Brady and Michael Jordan stuff. He also said, oh boy, man, getting deeper into his psyche, Skip Bayless said that he uh, didn't have kids because he's obsessed with his job, and if he had kids, he would have missed every recital because he's so addicted to his job, and he's not gonna sacrifice for his job. His main goal at work is to prove that LeBron James isn't as good as Michael Jordan, which is a thing you cannot prove. And some people argue that it's the other way around. So it's just crazy to me that he sacrificed the family for that. Like, you're not going to have children because of this mythical, ridiculous thing that you're trying to pursue, or that Aaron Rodgers sucks at football and that Tom Brady's good. It's either stuff we already definitely know, or it's stuff that is definitely wrong. You might as well have chosen a career in searching for Bigfoot, and that's the same thing. If there was a guy out in the woods that just lives isolated by himself out there in the middle of nowhere, he's spent every day of his adult life searching for Bigfoot, never come across it, and somebody interviews him, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't have kids because there's no way I'm gonna make it to their recitals because that might be the day I find Bigfoot." Like, same thing. Oh, and then he also said, "Oh, good Lord, he is not stable." He also said that he didn't miss any work when his parents died. His dad apparently died a while back. He didn't miss a day. And I guess his mother died like a year ago. Obviously, that's, as much as I hate him, that all sucks. Anybody mourning anything is terrible. But instead of mourning, he thought it was better. He didn't miss any time for either parent. He went into work, and he takes a lot of pride in that. So instead of, and that sucks for Shannon Sharp, by the way, because he has to want to take some days off because it's just a stupid job. It's like what they do. Like, they're already both so rich. You could take a day. The guys at ESPN take days off all the time. All the time. They have people filling in for them. And, but no, Shannon's probably, what excuses is he going to have if Skip won't take time off for, to mourn? So, it's just crazy that instead of mourning, he thought it was better to go get mocked and laughed at by millions of people and say things like LeBron James is terrible at basketball. He thought that's a better thing to do in that situation than to go to the funeral. He's probably right. Probably the right thing to do. He seems very emotionally sound. Very smart guy. On top of all that, the embarrassments keep coming. Skip Bayless posted a picture of the car he is riding around in Miami. And so apparently I thought it was all going to be bullshit. Lil Wayne, I think, let him borrow a car or something because he thanked him. He said something a while back about he was going to let him drive this car in Miami. And apparently it's really happening. So maybe this Lil Wayne thing I've been shitting on, maybe they have a real relationship. I still think it's all bullshit. I can't imagine them having a real fun what kind of fun conversation can you have with Skip Bayless? He's so out of touch. He seriously knows 3 things and they're all incorrect. But he posted pictures of himself with the car and pictures of the car, and with the hashtag Whip Bayless. So we got Drip Bayless, we got Whip Bayless. The guy's 70 years old. Also, none of these nicknames, couldn't say the word. None of these nicknames fit him. It's all ridiculous. Oh my God. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And I get it. I'm a guy that has 3 Fart Safari albums, and I will probably be doing stupid stuff if I'm lucky enough to be that old. But at the same time, it will make sense with me, with him trying to be a cool guy. And I'm not saying I'm a cool guy. I'm saying I'm anything but a cool guy. I'm an idiot. Anyway, just so stupid. Also, apparently, Skip Rides the Troller Coaster is back. I missed that, unfortunately. Where you can ask him anything and he answers. We should get him to answer so many questions from this podcast. Oh, also, I don't know if you saw it. If you haven't, look up Stephen A. Smith boxing. There was a video going around. A lot of people were making fun of his technique and stuff. A lot of people were making fun of the fact that he was like, one of his little punches was like way low, as if he were going to fight a toddler. But at the same time, I'm sure that's what the trainer was asking of him, was to punch down there. I guess it was like for some sort of rehab after surgery or something. But got to say, man, dude's in shape. He's like in his 50s, I think. And he's kind of jacked for a dude that age. But the video is kind of funny. It's just so weird to watch him do that. But check it out. Stephen A. Smith Boxing. Look it up. All right, guys. Time for my favorite part of the podcast. It's time to start a new rumor about Skip Bayless. Let's get into it. I can't believe I actually found this, but I did come across some documentation from Skip's 23andMe results, and it turns out Skip Bayless shares heritage with Judas, Hitler, and somehow King Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Judas, Hitler, and King Joffrey. Can you believe that? I mean, I kind of can't. Kind of makes sense. He's pure evil, and he's really horrible and stupid. I bet all their sports takes were really bad too. But just had to share that. Somebody forwarded me a photocopy of it, and saw it with my own eyes. It's pretty crazy. So you heard it here first, guys. All right. It's going to be a little bit short one today. Maybe, you know what? I did this one other time when it was going a little short, but I'll tag on one more story here at the end, and it'll tie in. I was going to save this for another day, but this will tie into the story up top. The author of Fight Club, Chuck Palahniuk, I never know if I'm saying his name right. He was doing a signing, and this is at that time where I was such a huge nerdy fan. Still a fan of the guy. I haven't read any of his newer stuff in the last several years, but really enjoyed several of his books. He was doing a signing. I'm a maniac of a fan of Fight Club and many other books, and my brother had gotten me a signed copy of Fight Club when my brother stayed in London, and I went to this signing. And first of all, when I went there, he was doing a thing where he had mentioned at another reading, he had people, instead of raising their hand if they had a question, he answered about 10 questions. He was like, instead of doing that, I want you guys to make he mentioned that at another one in Denver or something, he had people make animal noises, and he thought that was cool. But then he went on to talk for a while, and then it came time to ask questions, so he's like, throws it to the audience, and I start howling, and he doesn't call on me. Nobody else did the animal noise thing. No one. And so I'm just howling like an idiot, and people are just staring at me. He keeps not calling on me, and people are looking at me like I'm a fucking weirdo. And then eventually he does call on me. I ask him a question about insomnia, and he answered it. He told me if you have insomnia, what he does, he sleeps in the bathtub. So apparently, I think I did try that once. It didn't work out so well. I don't know how that could ever be a thing, but it worked for him apparently. But then I got to go through the line, get my book signed, and you get to talk to him for a second there, and we hung out for like a second. He was very nice, and then he signed my book, Break Some Bones, Chuck Palahniuk. That night, I was down on 6th Street in Austin, Texas. There had just been it wasn't Katrina, but it was one leading up or right after or something, where a lot of people from New Orleans had like come to Austin just to escape, to get out of town, to be safe. And I don't know why I remember that part, but anyway, I'm hanging out on 6th Street, and I remember being in a great mood. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I don't remember who I'm with, but I know I was with somebody. But at one point, I turn around, I hear a commotion, and I turn around, and a friend of mine, a female friend, was on the ground. A guy had punched her, and like I'm obviously just so blown away. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I ask her what happened. Some guy was just a complete and total piece of human fucking garbage. And it's just a lot of times down there, it's just drunk chaos. I immediately find the guy and I throw him against a van. And in doing so, I broke a finger in my hand. And I didn't go beyond it. I had every right to, but luckily, I guess I really wanted to fucking beat the holy shit out of him. But some crackhead, some fairy godmother crackhead, there's this guy. He appeared out of no. It really did feel like he appeared, and he told me like, "It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it." And I listened to this random crackhead, and I let the guy go because he was telling. Oh, there was cops on the other side of that van, and he was telling me like, "You do this, you're for sure going to jail." I let the guy go, and the guy like just disappears into a crowd. But I regretted it like immediately afterwards. It's like, man, fuck that guy. He deserved every second of that. And so I was very drunk. I remember grabbing another guy like a few minutes later, and I was talking to some random couple. I don't even think I knew them. I told them what happened, and then this guy walks by, and in my drunk ass mind, I thought it was that guy again. I grab him, and I'm like, "Are you him?" And the guy is almost pissing himself. He's like almost crying. He's like, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything." Totally wasn't him at all. I was about to just go on this rampage and didn't even remember what the guy looked like 5 seconds later. So ridiculous. Anyway, long story short, yeah, the author of Fight Club wrote Break Some Bones, and then not 5 hours later, I broke a bone. He had a book signing here in LA recently, and I missed it. I really want to tell him that story. Anyway, pretty incredible, pretty crazy. I have a lot of weird stories. Anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm blanking on a couple dates between now. I'm not really on the road until the end of February, so I've got about a month, unfortunately / fortunately. I'm going to be in Austin headlining the Velveeta Room, February 28th. And it's a leap year, so 29th. So go check that out if you can. Thanks to everybody that's been buying those Burrito for President shirts. Also got the Fart Safari shirts. But I'm going to have to do another order because I'm running low. So you can buy Burrito for President 2020 t-shirts if you'd like on my website, dougmiller.com. Thanks again for listening, you guys. Be safe out there. Not every day is promised. Talk to you next week.
69th Base with Doug Millard was recorded in front of a live studio audience presented by Hormel Chili Radio Productions.